So I guess before we get started, I got to ask you. So, are you a coffee guy? Do you like
I
coffee?
do drink coffee, yeah. But you know what? I thought I wasn't sure that the world wanted to see me drink my coffee, so I've just put one out, as they say.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So it's for me, it's still morning time. I mean, I'm still chugging down some of my coffee, but for you, I guess what is it like 4 o'clock in the afternoon where you are?
Free.
3. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So it's probably not prime coffee drinking time for you anyway.
For me, then it's prime coffee drinking time almost all day.
All day. Yeah.
You
Gotcha.
know the little Nespresso pods. You know what I'm talking about, the little pods.
Yep.
Well, I usually have I'm trying to cut down, but we worked out with my PA that I get through between 10 and 14 pods a day, which probably isn't very healthy.
You like your coffee. Yeah, no, I like that. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I can drink coffee all day, but usually it's usually my morning caffeine and then I'm good.
Yeah, sure.
That's
So
funny.
what time is it with you?
So it is. It's just now 10 a.m.
All right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's still kind of early for me, I guess. So I want to talk to you guys about, so obviously Alcon, you guys are over in the UK, or you're based in the UK.
Yeah.
You're highly involved in motorsports, but obviously you also supply brakes, clutches for various industries as well. But so I want to talk to you a little bit about like this whole COVID-19 and kind of the situation you're in, or everyone is in. So I can remember like in early March, I visited Detroit, went and visited a bunch of brake companies. And at that time, at least over here, COVID-19 or coronavirus was, it was being talked about, but no one was really at that point to where they really thought maybe there could be like a complete lockdown. And it wasn't probably 2 weeks after I returned from that trip. I mean, it was, everything was just locked down. So over in the UK, like where you guys are, like, I guess when did it actually kind of hit? Did you guys have time to prepare for it kind of hitting? Did you guys see it coming, or was it kind of like us where it was, kind of being talked about, not quite sure, then all of a sudden it was like, boom, everything's goes to a grinding stop?
Well, I think one of the differences between what happened in the UK and what I think you've just described is that we were never, in our industry, those who are in manufacturing were never asked to cease manufacturing. So the rules were stated as asking people, if you can work from home, work from home. Mm-hmm. If you can't, then you may attend for work. So, as you rightly say, earlier on in March, then we knew something was brewing, but it didn't seem to be. We couldn't predict how serious it was going to be. As March progressed, we were taking steps here at Alcon in Tamworth in the UK to try and ensure that people were socially distanced when they were working. In fact, we did that in both of our factories in the UK, of course. And then as we got towards the end of March, the seriousness ramped up quite significantly. Mm-hmm. We realized that we had some employees who were at particularly high risk because of other health situation, or indeed they had people at high risk in their households who we needed to think about. At the same time, our supply chain started to wobble, and certain suppliers started shutting up shop. And as we came to the end of the March, we realized that we were probably going to have to do the same thing. Fortunately, we're quite an agile business, and within a space of less than a week, we had made provision for all of our office staff to remotely access the servers here. That's not something that we normally do. We're quite a social company. We don't do a lot of working from home. We bring people together to do what we do. So we were quite pleased with that. That worked well. And yes, from the beginning of April, about a week's worth of preparation, and we shut up shop at the beginning of April.
Gotcha. So was the manufacturing Did you so were you still able to manufacture product, but maybe you couldn't because of the supply chain, or
It was a supply chain that really meant that the factory, we had a good order book still at that time, but it was a supply chain that really meant that we had to take a pause.
gotcha.
But as soon as we all left for home, then went straight into the planning for a restart.
Yeah.
We didn't have a dwell, and we put a lot of work into planning for the restart, which we were able to do again second week in May.
Okay. Second week of May. Okay, so you guys have restarted since then. So when you had to shut down the manufacturing side or operations, did you have to furlough a lot of employees, lay off several? I mean, I know that's pretty common. I mean, obviously a lot of folks had to do that. Were you guys part of that as well?
Yeah, we furloughed the vast majority of people at that time. We kept a skeleton crew operational. Obviously, some things needed to be kept going in terms of finance department, HR, etc. But by and large, we furloughed people. British government came forward with a pretty good package, so we took advantage of that. And then, as I say, as we came into May, we started slowly taking people off furlough, and we've still got quite a few people on furlough. We're still ramping up, but yeah, that's the way we played it.
Yeah. What challenges did you run into? Any challenges when you kind of went fully remote? I mean, anything come up? Any snags? I mean, did you learn anything from? Because because a lot of companies, because it's kind of with this culture, especially maybe in the U.S., there's a lot of companies that kind of were already on the remote side of things. They kind of had already flexible schedules, and it was kind of common. But there's a lot of companies that weren't even close. It wasn't part of the culture, and those companies kind of had some hiccups, probably trying to figure out how to manage the remote workforce. Was it a pretty smooth transition? I mean, obviously, if you got a great solid team, communications there, but
it went quite smoothly, and I think I'm pleased with the way in which we handled the process of putting people back to their homes. We maintained communication. I did a written communication to all staff once a week throughout the period, just keeping people updated as to how things were going, what our intentions were, trying to give them some sort of view of the future. Difficult, of course, under the circumstances, but we tried to do that. And we made sure that our individual teams, made sure that they were being contacted. Everybody was being contacted by their manager on a regular basis, just to make sure that people felt a part of what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been amazed, actually, talking to people, just how many organisations, when they put people on furlough, just cut off all communication, which I think is a mistake. But there we are.
Yeah, I know it's kind of unusual times, but the communication side, you think would be, obviously definitely needs to be a priority for sure. Making sure everybody understands what's going on from a order fulfillment perspective. So when it when it got heavy with the COVID, you guys kind of had to shut down manufacturing. Were you still able to fulfill orders? I mean, were your customers even buying at that time? I mean, how did that go? Or did everything literally just kind of stop and everything just kind of stopped?
No, for a period we didn't ship anything at all. On the run up to shutdown, then we cleared down the decks of certain critical orders, made sure that we'd fulfilled those, and we communicated clearly with our customers before and during, as we needed to do, because we needed to correctly time our restart. So the whole process of restarting involved a lot of customer communication to understand what was needed when, and also a lot of supplier communication to understand whether or not our supply chain was going to be able to support our intentions on a timely basis. And that that was very iterative, because there was a lot of sort of, well, we will if you will kind of conversations going on. And in some cases, of course, those conversations involve a lot more than just two parties. Suppliers were trying to work out whether or not a sufficient quorum of their customers were going to start using their services again. But that everybody was in the same boat. Everybody was trying very hard to get back to being productive, and through good communication, I'm really pleased with the way it's gone since the 11th of May. In fact, I've been amazed.
Yeah. So where do you guys stand? Where do you guys stand right now? So are you guys back to 100%, or are you guys still kind of ramping up?
Not 100%. We're ramping up all the time, and over June and July we'll be, depending on exactly how the demand pans out, but we're sort of moving up through 50%, up to sort of 75% capacity. We could go to 100% very quickly if demand requires it, but certainly seeing a lot of inquiry activity now, which is good.
Yeah. When you reopened, like that first day or the first week when you guys kind of started the ramping up production again and bringing people back, like, was there anything specific COVID related that you had to do, like from a government perspective? Like, were there hoops you had to kind of go through to make sure that things were in order?
Yeah. We gave it a lot of thought. There were government guidelines issued, which we certainly looked at and used, although they were issued relatively late on in the process. We did what everybody probably does. We did our research. Google is your friend on these occasions, and we put together a kind of playbook as to all the things that we needed to cover off. We went right the way through the whole facility, looking at all of our operations and processes, and looking at how we could fulfill those processes on a socially distanced basis. We looked at people flows through the buildings and put in place one-way systems, a lot of signage to make sure that people knew what they were supposed to be doing in a particular space, where they could stand, where they can't, that sort of thing. We obviously had to make an investment in additional PPE, which fortunately by the time we were restarting was starting to, there was a time when you couldn't get PPE in this country at all, because it was all being directed towards the health service. So we were able to get some extra PPE. And now when people come into the business, first thing that happens is they have their temperature checked. And if anybody's temperature is, shall we say, out of limits, then we ask them to go home and to self-monitor and isolate for the required period before they come in. Again, we have increased cleanliness regimes, particularly on touch surfaces and the like. We've been very thorough indeed. That's really important, because you have to give your employees the confidence that you're going to look after them.
Yeah, that was my next question. Was, did you experience any pushback or any concerns from the employees that you've asked to come back, or were they happy to get back, just to get back to doing stuff?
Overwhelmingly, people are happy to be back. I think I say overwhelmingly. I'm sure there may be one or two who perhaps quite enjoying the sunshine in their gardens for a few weeks. But no, generally speaking, people are very happy to be back, and people are also have commented that it is confidence inspiring, the way in which we've not treated the situation at all lightly, but really gone to town in terms of being sure to protect them. Certainly concerns were expressed beforehand, but I think we've addressed those.
Yeah. Like, are there things you guys have done, like now as we come out, that is going to be a big change to where you do business, or do you think hopefully business will be as usual in a few months? I mean, how do you see things playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have learned a good deal over the last few weeks, and we still are learning. I think um, it's been quite interesting to test our management structures and processes with everybody remote working, and I think we've seen some areas or opportunities for improvement, which will be effective improvements whether people are remote or back here in the office. So, how we set our objectives and how we measure people's performance our business performance has certainly come under scrutiny when we've all been apart. I think that will be an area of adaptation as we go forward. I think I'm sad to say that perhaps at Alcon we were starting to get to a point prior to the pandemic where we seemed to be having a lot of meetings, and they didn't all seem to be quite as effective as perhaps they should be. And I know that's a perennial problem in many, many organisations, particularly as they grow. You then all depart and go to work in your spare bedrooms, and then you communicate. You have meetings by Zoom or whatever, and just because of the different situation of those meetings, it raises the questions as to how well people are prepared for them, what actually we're here to do. It can be a 2-hour meeting staring at a screen's hard work. It's hard work if you're all co-located, but it really is hard work for me anyway, staring at a screen. So then, while I'm staring at that screen, I start trying to work out how quickly we could have dispensed with this meeting if we've just streamlined it all. So there's stuff like that coming out of this, which I think is useful.
Well, before we go, one last thing, I want to talk a little bit about the motorsports industry. With over here, NASCAR came back last month, without any fans, which is kind of a weird situation, right? Yeah. I know Formula One. I know it's coming back in July, which I believe without any fans. I don't think. What are your thoughts? I mean, what are you hearing, and what are your thoughts on kind of like how motorsports is going to open up, and I guess how quickly is it going to get back to normal, if ever?
Well, I think in truth, the rest of 2020 is going to be patchy because of restrictions. So great that NASCAR have been so determined to get going again, and Alcon's a significant beneficiary of that, I have to say. So we're delighted that their determination to get racing again, and not just to get racing again, but actually to try and cram the whole season into the back sort of 7 months of the year, which is great. International motorsport can only occur if when you get off an aeroplane, you don't have to self-isolate for 14 days. Otherwise, it's going to be really limited. I think Formula One is finding ways around it, either through special dispensations, possibly, maybe they've got plans to throw the sorts of money at it that they might be able to afford that others would not be able to afford. We'll see. So I think it will be patchy for the rest of this year, but there is a real determination on the part of both competitors and fans to get back to it. And I would be pretty confident that the ever innovative and creative motorsport community will have worked out how that is to happen by the start of the 2021 season, whether that's under restrictions or not by then.
So do you not see any fans? Do you not see any fans in the stands this year? I guess 2020. Is there any chance of that, you think?
I would, under the present circumstances, I would doubt it because everybody is still impressing upon us the importance of social distancing. And you could occupy a stand with it, every other seat or something, but you've just got too many people moving around in quite a restricted area. So I would doubt it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
and I know there's a lot of maybe some innovative things that maybe can come out of this too. Like with the with the NFL football, they kind of had like a virtual draft this year where they couldn't have anybody there, and so they had more of a virtual type of situation. And I know with you think maybe something like that will come out of this, where they try to do something virtually to kind of get more engagement with fans.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a lot of sort of press speculation about pulling forwards. Many of the race series were experimenting and researching into trying to make a more interactive experience out of their assets. Yeah. And I think we're thinking that's something we ought to be doing over the next 2 to 3 years. And from what I've heard in some quarters, at least, they're accelerating that research and in order to try to replace if you can't go to the race, then try to give people other ways of interacting with their chosen motorsport series. Yeah.